What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Nights at the Round Table. Today on our podcast, we have Haley Hunt, one of the most amazing, beautiful people that I've ever known. We've gone 2 decades being friends, and we go deep into this one. From being married to getting divorced, and at what point will we start valuing ourselves and holding ourselves to a standard to which we want in our lives? If you're out there wondering the same thing, going through heartbreak after heartbreak, this episode is going to speak to you so that maybe at some point you'll start valuing who you are and realize that there's something so much better for you. We love you guys so much. If you're not following us on YouTube, please go subscribe on Mind of Manny channel. We appreciate it. This is Nights at the Round Table. And welcome to another episode of Nights at the Round Table. It's your boy, MANWELL'S, and I am joined today by a longtime friend, confidant, amazing person, Haley, who I lovingly call Hey Hey. How are you?
I'm amazing. Actually, in this pandemic, I am actually the true, genuine answer is I am amazing right now.
You know, it's almost like you really have to be careful, though, because I was scrolling through Instagram and Bieber got blasted for saying that he was blessed during these times.
I didn't say I was blessed, which I am blessed, but I said I'm
But you are. No, I know. But it literally made me think, like, man, I've kind of said something close to that. Like,
why are people mad we have grateful hearts? We're all blessed.
People were mad at him because he was saying that they're good in these times. He's like, man, you know, I just want to be aware that, or conscious that there's people struggling, and we're so blessed. So it's like something to be thankful for. It was him, Haley, and Kendall Jenner. So it was a lot of rich people on one call. But I understood his heart. I totally got his heart. A lot of people did not. I was like, dang, you gotta be real careful. It made me think, like, man, I need to be careful what I say and really, like, work it out so that no one's taking it the wrong way. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. It just reminded me.
I think that comes in context right now because, as you know, February 14th, Valentine's Day, a guy broke my heart. So then the pandemic came. So it's been like this crazy, sad time for me. And so me saying I'm amazing means I actually am doing better today than I was yesterday. And every day I'm getting better. So it's been a freaking heartbreak. And I'm doing great now. Even in the middle of this pandemic, I feel better than I did, last month. So which interestingly enough leads us into our topic. Which, boys,
look, I've known Haley for so long. We going on over a decade easily. How many years?
Since 2000. 1999. No.
So
my 8th grade year, 1998.
Oh my gosh. So that's over 2 decades.
Yeah.
We go back. And we've been through so many boys. Not like a lot like that. Sorry, that came out wrong. I didn't mean like a hoochie, but I'm talking about like just a lot of boy stories. And the title of this podcast was When Do I Know That I'm Good Enough? And the reason I chose this is because obviously through 2 decades of deep conversations and everything that she's gone through, which I'll let her give a overview of her life from, super popular girl in high school, in love with the Lord, doing her thing, all these amazing things that she did in high school, and then transfer to the next phase of her life, which was getting married. Then the next phase, which was getting divorced. Then the next phase of trying to find love in this crazy time. Through it all, like she's kept an insanely positive demeanor. But like I always tell her, I know deep down, smiles only cover so much. And there's probably a lot going on underneath, which we all know. Like we smile. I would say most people smile in a sense of joy, but also to hide. I think smiles are indicative of hiding what's going on. And I don't want to like stigmatize smiling, but I think hurt people use smiles to say, okay, and this is why. Whenever you ask somebody, hey, how you doing? The first thing they'll do is they'll smile and be like, I'm doing good. Even if they're not doing good. It's rarely that you'll ask somebody, hey, how you doing? And they'll be like, you know what? I'm hating my life right now. I think it sucks.
Well, the truth is when people ask you how you're doing, most people don't really care how you're doing. And they're like, wait. I didn't ask you for all that.
You are correct. It's just a thing that we do. That's not what I do on this podcast. So I truly want to know how you're doing. And when we're talking about, am I good enough? I think it's easy to say one thing, act a different way, and still be telling yourself, yeah, I'm good. Like, I love myself. I hear girl. We had this conversation before. I deserve more. I deserve more. There's a lot of women that light up the comments of like what they deserve, what they feel that they, all these things, and yet put themselves in compromising situations or tolerate things that if they really believed what they were saying, they wouldn't put themselves in these situations. They wouldn't stay where they're at. So give us like your, I don't want to say testimony, but give us your story up until where you are at now. Okay.
Well, real quick, y'all, just FYI, one time I was in high school. I think I was probably a sophomore in high school. We had a huge night at Extreme Youth Church, and I'll never forget. And there's so many funny stories like this, but
shout out Pastor Johnny.
Pastor Johnny, we love you. So one night you had like an amazing experience. Pastor Johnny spoke on, I don't know, music or something. And you came up to me and you were like, Haley, I got to tell you what I'm doing. I was like, what? And you were like, I'm taking all of my music, all my Casey and JoJo, my Boys to Men, all my romantic music that I would usually use for hanging out and just loving and being romantic, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to put it in a box and I'm not opening it till I find my wife. Did you ever do that?
I said that?
Yes, you put it. You were like, I'm locking it away because it's too, maybe you said addicting, or maybe, I don't know what you said, but you were putting all your romantic secular music, R&B, sexy time music away until you met your wife. Now, I don't think you really did that, but it was a great.
Oh man, I love that. I think we all went through waves of that. We were trying to be real spiritual.
Oh man. Anyways,
I don't remember that. I do remember the song I wrote for you. That was hilarious.
That was amazing. That was amazing. You're not answering your phone. Usually I answer the phone. I don't know why I didn't that day. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So guys, I'm really excited to be on this podcast, and mainly because on my podcast I get to interview athletes and people in the sports world, and I love the vulnerability that they have, and they've inspired me so much to be real and keep it real and everything. And then I love y'all's podcast because you're giving people a platform to really be vulnerable and to be real and to share things that most people wouldn't share, and things that are scary. And sometimes it's scary to be vulnerable, And I do want to say that there's a difference between Facebook and Instagram. And I'm saying that Facebook, it feels like everyone feels like that you need to know their business. And then Instagram is more discreet. And I feel like, in life, pause for a second because you can edit this, but can you hear the kids?
Yeah. I don't know how well you can hear them in the whatever, but this is real life. So you keep going.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Haley lives with a family and she has a bunch of kids over there. So
not my kids, but I think that you have to be discerning when it comes to sharing what's going on, and not that you can't say, you know what, I'm not okay, but I'm gonna be, like that kind of thing. But I find myself a lot in my life up until lately really just overlooking how I really feel and trying to be strong for everybody else. And then this past, year, since June, when a huge network deal fell through and my heart just crushed. I mean, it was the biggest door that ever opened and then closed in my face, that I just really was like, you know what? I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm falling apart and I'm heartbroken. And then, just you know, 2 months ago exactly, you know, a guy, it was the first guy that I really fell in love with, and I let my guard down, and he, you know, didn't mean to.
Post your marriage. Don't skip the marriage.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm saying I haven't been okay. And so today when I said I was amazing, I really am feeling a lot better.
Good.
And
I'm
I
glad.
feel I'm getting in a great place. All that to say, guys, when I was younger, I'm a Jesus-loving 5-year-old that got saved early, if you know what saved means. And I was trying to preach to the cashier and everybody else, and my parents put me in a radical Christian private school, not knowing what I was going to come home and do, you know. And so they like grew up Baptist and Presbyterian and didn't even go to church at that time. So I'm coming home and I'm like, do you know Jesus? Do you know Jesus? And, you know, so passionate about this guy named Jesus. And my parents are like, what is going on? By the way, if you're watching, I have totally coronavirus nails. I mean, I'm sorry, they're so chipped right now. Hey, I am not okay, guys. Okay, our hair, everything. So I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable.
You look beautiful.
Thanks.
Stop. Keep going.
So, you know, I grew up loving Jesus, and I was a girl in high school. I won homecoming queen, not because I was head cheerleader, but because I loved people. I was passionate about them. And then I was pursuing my music career and all those things. And then I met this guy when I was 23, and he was a pastor's kid and an Alabama football player. And it just seemed like, knowing Haley, she loves Jesus and Alabama football, you know, it was just like this perfect match, right? And we got married. We were married for 6 years. And
how old are you when you got married again?
20.
24. Okay.
And I was married for 6 years. So the latter part of the majority of my 20s, I was married. Yeah. And he was a great guy. He had an incredible personality. Everybody loved him. I was very attracted to his jovial spirit. He was very contagious, smiling all the time, hilarious. But, you know, he had his own issues. And his problem was that he was always okay. And that he never wanted to talk about what he was really struggling with. See, that is the problem with always saying that you're okay, because sometimes you're not okay, and then you end up ruining people's lives because you don't deal with your own ish, you know?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, he did his thing, and we can get into that. But after 6 years of honoring and doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, which is dying to myself, right? We hear that, dying to myself, like laying aside your own thing because you want to honor your marriage. And, you know, if you're listening to this and your spouse has stepped outside the marriage, I would never say run for the hills, ever. The first time.
Yeah.
But if this is a, you know, child that continues to touch the hot stove and burn their hand, after a while, you're just going to have to let them burn the crap out of their hand and suffer, because I don't know what else to tell you. Like, get a job or you're going to have to move out of our house. Well, if you end up kicking your kid out of your house and they end up being homeless, after 6 years of like warning, you know, the Bible says God will turn you over to your sin, but also life will just dump you out real quick to let you get your life together because you're ruining other people's, you know? So when I turned 30, I just decided that, you know, the ironic thing, guys, is that I was on stage speaking at marriage conferences. I had a marriage blog. I mean, y'all, I can tell you how to be the most amazing wife, how to stay and pray, how to, you know, all those things. And I knew that I was an amazing wife. I, you know, cooked, clean. You know, my mother-in-law always said, you better never withhold your body for my son, as a joke. Like, you better be giving up to my son. You better be keeping it high and heavy. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, it wasn't any of those issues. You know, I was an amazing wife. And so when all that happened, obviously, the first thing you think is, what's wrong with me? Right. Why is he looking at other? What do I not have that he's looking for? You know, which I'd love to get into that too, because you know,
get into it.
So, you know, I'm saying this because I know that there's many examples of things that people are looking for outside of what they already have. You know, you're scrolling on Pinterest and you want the bigger house or the better fireplace or the prettier car or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You know, he used to Google all the time, big booty or big ass. Yeah. And, you know, I'm just being honest. And so, you know, guys struggle, girls struggle, whatever. But what that did to me when I saw that made me feel like, well, you married a white girl, okay? Like Taylor Swift says in her documentary, either you're skinny and you have no butt, or you're thick and you have a beautiful behind, but you're too fat for them and you're you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. and you know, even the babe that you and I both honor so much, your wife, she says all the time, you know, I ain't got a big booty, but I got good hair. Like, yeah. That's been my motto. So,
and if you're not watching this on YouTube, P.S., you should, so that you can see how fly Haley is. So that way, this will really put context into all of this. If you're just listening to it, you're not gonna understand how good looking she is. But if you're watching it, you'll be able to be like, "What the hell?" Okay, now go ahead, keep going.
So, I used to go to the gym, squat. I was doing squats and lunges and trying to figure out how to get a big butt. And this was before big booty exercises were all up on your Instagram feed, because I feel like freaking Instagram knows my past, because now I see all this ish about how to get a bigger booty. Like, that's like the thing now, you know, and like white girls who want big butts. Yeah. Oh yeah. So it drove me to a place where I was just almost unhealthy about it. I was so insecure because I didn't have a big butt, because I felt like I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough, you know? And I wanted to be enough. And so I was trying everything. But it's funny how you can have a wife that cooks, cleans, and does everything, but you're still looking for more. Like, we all are struggling with that in some area. Like, we all always want more. But in a marriage, it really was not okay. And so, unfortunately, you know, you cannot play with fire, because it ends up going from big booty or big ass on Google to, you know, it's not enough on a screen. Yeah. And so, and not to bash him, y'all, but because he was such a great guy, and I'm, you know, praying for him and hoping for the best for him. But, you know, I'm now at a point where I'm just like, you know what, like, I'm 35 and I love people. I can cook like a freaking Paula Deen and whoever else, Joanna Gaines. I, you know, have great style. Those are all the things but I love people passionately. I serve. I am exciting all the time. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. You know, I know now that I'm an amazing woman. I'm a freaking awesome catch. And so this brings us to our conversation the other day, that I know I'm an amazing woman, but do I really know I'm an amazing woman? Because, you know, because the last guy I dated. Yeah.
I challenged what I do, and this is extremely annoying, and I know this about myself.
I was just about to say annoying.
I am a no bullshit type of person. And I've said this multiple times on this podcast, and you know it. I say what I mean what I say, and I don't say things unless I mean it. I try to be extremely careful with my words, because I know that in the past, I know the words have always dictated how I thought, you know, and not only is there spiritual backing, like, to back that up, biblical backing, but there's also psychology and sociological actual, like, proof that words can dictate the direction of your life. So when me and Hey have these conversations, and she tells me, I know I'm amazing, I know I'm a catch, I know I'm these things, and in my mind I'm like 100%, I 1000% agree with you. You are amazing, you're a catch. I've known that since day one. But why then do you end up in situations with not so amazing circumstances that force you to compromise, to treat yourself less than what you are telling me you are? There's a big juxtaposition there, and either there's either two things. Either I can't see what the hell's going on, or someone is lying to me. Because you cannot say that you think these things about yourself and then allow yourself to stay in situations that force you to be lesser than what you see yourself. So that was the big thing that I was challenging Hey with. And I don't want to oversimplify, because if you're listening to this and you're married and you got kids and you got all these things those things are more forcing you to stay than you actually wanting to stay. I get that. I know that even from my own parents' relationships. Like once kids are involved, then it's kind of like you kind of live for your kids. Not saying that, I don't want to say that you should or shouldn't say, but there does come a point, like what Haley was saying, is that you have to decide on whether or not the words that you're going to speak over yourself are going to be true. If you truly are amazing and you deserve the best, then why are you living in a substandard life? Why are you allowing people to treat you as second tier?
So I think for myself, and I think that a lot of listeners will relate to this, but I am a fixer. Mm-hmm. I have found that is it is a blessing when it comes to the homeless and the kids in juvie and the people that need my help. Mm-hmm. But it is a curse when you feel like, and you have not valued yourself enough to understand that your job is not to fix a man, change a man, train a man. Like that was what his mom was there for. Mm-hmm. And if his mom did not do the right thing that's not your problem. Like, and I feel like even this last relationship, God bless him, but there were a lot of red flags that I was just like, but I was so compassionate and he was so good looking. I'm just kidding. He was such an amazing guy. He was so special, but I felt like I was also my compassion. And that's also why in my marriage, I was the cool wife. I was trying to like, oh, well, it's fine. Cause it's fine. You're going to be fine. Like, I'm going to cheer you on. I'm going to coach you through this. I'm going to wait till you make the right decisions. And I'm a fixer. And so that is not our responsibility. It's almost like I'm 35. I'm like, no, I'm not a fixer. I am a queen. Mm-hmm. That's what I am. And I need a man to cheer me on. I need a man to encourage me. I need a man to help me heal. You know what not me heal. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even said I need a man to do anything, because God is enough for me. But I would love for a guy to be able to encourage me in my dreams, and me not always, even with John, like, and he may listen to this because he loves you, but what was I with my relationship after my marriage was with this amazing, gorgeous, incredible guy. Yeah, okay.
He was cool.
Looked like he walked out of a magazine, blonde hair, British accent. Guess what we were doing the whole time we were together? Pursuing his Olympic career, pursuing his music, and pursuing his art career. Like, nothing with Haley. And that's awesome and like so honorable. But that's not what it's about. Yeah. Like I have seen the pattern in my life, and darn it, it's taken me to get 35 to realize that pursuing another guy's dreams, and that's what I did with Simeon when he was in the NFL. Like, all I did was follow him around the NFL. And like, yes, if you are in a marriage and your husband is, and you, like, I hope you're not taking this out of context, and listen to what I'm saying is like honoring your husband. And like, if he has a job that you guys have to travel a lot, or and you've kind of felt like, oh, well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom, or I'm just this, and I've had to put my career aside. That is not what I'm talking about, because raising kids is the most amazing, important job in this world. So don't get it twisted. Like, you are raising champions. That is a true career, let me just tell you. But I feel like even with my marriage, like I was supporting someone else's dreams and not pursuing anything that I was passionate about.
And here's the funny thing about that. Here's the funny thing about that. I don't think in any way, shape, or form, if you are that person, you should change, because you're modeling what you would like someone to do for you. The difference is that when you're with the right person, they will see the sacrifice and the support, and it will spur them on to give it back. That's like the one thing that I realized, that I needed someone that was a dreamer, because I need to be a cheerleader. You remember, like, even when I was dating Sonia, you know, every time she would preach or everything that she would do, I was like a big time cheerleader. When I dated Trey, same thing. When I dated Sunshine out here, who was a Laker girl and she was a Clipper girl, I would go to all the games.
Hey, Sunshine.
Huh?
I said, hey, Sunshine.
I know. Her real name's Ashley Ramirez, but I called her Sunshine because she was smiling she reminded me of you. She was always smiling everywhere she went. The typical like LA girl cheerleader, like everybody dropped their jaw when they saw her. But I would go to all the games, even if I had to sit at the top at the, you know, just to support her. When I was dating Julie, I would go to all her freaking dance competitions. And because it's like, yo, like, if you get lucky enough to get a girl that knows what she wants and is going after it, knowing how hard it is in this world to be someone who actually chases their dream, who actually goes after it, how can you not lend your support and want to be there for that person? You know what I'm saying? So changing who you are, it's a beautiful part. So it's always been a beautiful part of you, which I think you need to protect. It's just spending it on the right person. And it's easy to see who the right person is because you'll know from jump if this person is supportive or not. You will know. It's in their character. You can't help it. Like, you can try, to be not supportive, but it would literally spend more energy trying not to be supportive than just giving in, because it's just a part of you. It would be silly to try not to be supportive. So if you get with a man who, you will know instantly if this guy is supportive or not. Anyways, I say that to say please don't change. But move forward. Keep going.
Thanks.
You were with John, and then
I was with John, and I was just doing the same thing. Which I loved it, and we had a great time. And I'm not taking anything away from our relationship and like helping John like with his thing. But I think a lot of times single ladies, we get caught up in we either are so selfish and so self-consumed that we're pursuing our own thing and we don't care about anybody else, or we are so excited about everybody else. And when it comes to a guy, we maybe sometimes misunderstand potentially, or I don't know, we don't use our discernment, or, you know, his good looks and success and really great personality is something that we're looking for, and so we settle for the counterfeit. I don't know.
I mean, I think it ultimately has to come down to how you feel about yourself, because I always hear people say, you know, I deserve more, but what is more? Like, have you ever sat down and really asked yourself, what is it that you deserve? I'm asking you that specifically. Like, have you ever been like...
Yeah. I'm trying to...
Here's why I say that. Because I've always based what I deserve on how I treat people. I cannot... And I've said this in multiple podcasts. I cannot expect or require from someone something that I'm not willing to give. So if I expect faithfulness, I need to be faithful. If I expect a servant's attitude, I need to serve. If I expect kindness, I need to be kind. If I expect someone to not be so argumentative, I need to work on not being argumentative. It's something with me and Ange where, excuse me, with me and Ange,
is that you, Rhoda?
I know, right? With me and Ange, one thing I've noticed about myself, and I always tell her, I'm like, man, I get so angry at myself because most of the times when I get annoyed or angry with her, it is because I am being unrealistic in expecting her to know what I know and to act like I act. Like, little things I get so upset about because I'm like, how do you not know this? And it's so demeaning to think that way. And I don't like that about myself, because there's a lot of things that she can look at me and be like, how do you not know this? Like, whatever it is that she may know more than me. And that's probably also a big problem, that I'm like, I study a lot and I learn a lot. So I'm definitely a smart person. And the problem with that could be that you think you're smarter than everybody else. And when you do happen to be smarter in certain areas than other people, it's easy to get that attitude. And I think we do that in relationships a lot, where we may feel that we know more or we have more experience, and then we kind of tout that over somebody else that we're with, that they don't know enough, and make them feel crappy about it. So I think for me, it's always been that, like, if I can't give it to you, then how can I know what I deserve if I don't know myself, and I'm not aware at what I'm actually offering this world, like what I'm actually giving them. There was, like, when I was dating, I always knew this one thing. I was never rich. I felt like I was semi-quasi good looking. I wasn't like a buff, whatever. I got some traits. But I didn't.
Brother. Y'all, he's being humble. He knows how hot he was.
I didn't really feel any of those things, I was just more so, this is where I truly started drawing confidence. And that's when I knew I loved the Lord, and I knew I was called to something. I wasn't even like popping at the time, but I just knew that if anybody ever spoke to me, or if anybody ever saw me or had a conversation with me, they would know, yo, this guy is worth believing in. Like, he's going to be somebody one day. And I knew that because I knew I was a hard worker. I knew I loved love. I was uber romantic. I was a giver, like what you said. Like, I'm a servant. Like, when it comes to who I dated, wasn't nobody saying, oh, he doesn't support me. Like, I was just all in. And so I knew I was a catch. And because of that, though, I was a little different. If a girl would act sideways, I'd bounce. And in my mind, I always knew I will find better.
It's good.
I will find better because I am actively working to make myself better. So I have to find better. The things that attracted me before will not attract me now because I was a lesser, I don't want to say lesser person. I just wasn't maturing back then. I was deciding to be at this level, and so I'm accepting. However, these other people are complacent in their life as well. When I started realizing that every year my life needs to uptick, that I need to upgrade myself every year, that's when I started realizing a lot of these people aren't on my level, the people that I'm choosing to spend time with. Now, that doesn't say that my exes aren't amazing, because they all are upgraded. Like, the good last 5 girlfriends are like fire to anyone who ends up with them. And I think they're all married right now, except for one, which me and you know her, but she's fire too, and they're amazing people. But I, from jump, knew I will always get better. If I let go of complacency and what I know I don't deserve, I will find someone better. So that's how I was able to determine. Have you been able to in your life? And if you're listening to this, what is it that you deserve? And why do you deserve it?
It's funny that I think the answer, I don't know if there is a right answer, because to be honest, going through even this last breakup, I have heard from very wise people, one being like, you deserve this, you deserve that, oh, don't be letting a man, blah, blah. But what do we deserve? Not to get too religious or spiritual, but someone was like, we deserve hell. Like, we don't deserve anything. So, and that's where people will take the conversation and be like, we actually don't deserve anything. But I think when you're talking about relationships and stuff, I think we all, I don't even know what the right answer is, to be honest. I mean, we deserve someone.
Well, only you would know. You would know.
Love
no, it's
what
not
you
even
said
we.
was
like you specifically
deserve what you give to other people. So I
so
deserve
I'm asking
an
Haley,
amazing.
What
let
does
me tell
Haley
you what I
deserve?
deserve.
Please tell me, because you need to make the vision plain.
Thinks about others before himself, that thinks about what is I'm passionate about and helps me figure, a guy who puts people first, who loves his parents, who loves, if he doesn't have parents, he loves other people around him, who gives his money away and doesn't worship what he does for a living, who loves being successful and pursuing, established career or whatever, but making sure that his priorities are in line. A man who loves the homeless and will be humble enough to go to a jail with me and to hang out with kids that are in jail. And a man who doesn't see color, and a man who doesn't see, which if you're listening, you don't like that term either, I'm sorry, but a man who loves culture and would just make sure that I am okay so that I could serve others. A man who sees the calling on my life and sees what I'm passionate about and making sure that I'm okay enough and taken care of enough and loved enough to be able to serve people the way that he knows that I've been called to do. So I think when you are so distracted trying to take care of someone else, that it actually takes away from what you're really called to do, and that's been my problem.
For sure. I mean, Paul talks about it when in the Bible where he says it's better to be single, especially if you are called to do stuff, because you don't have anyone else to worry about except for the call. I'm not advocating single. I'm not saying you should
I don't
stay
think that's
single.
my calling. And Lord, please, I'm just begging you that's not my calling. But we're going to play a little game of Would You Rather. Okay, I love the freaking game Would You Rather. So would you rather see, an old, an old woman pushing a grocery cart across the street, accidentally get bumped by a car and her fall down on the floor with all her groceries, or see a litter of puppies get fed to an alligator? I don't know. They're both horrible things. But so playing this sick game of Would You Rather, there's a lot of fun questions, but there's one, and I don't know if there's ever a right answer for Would You Rather. It's just your opinion and how you'd rather die, drowning or burning. But
Sure.
Would you rather be in a toxic, unhealthy, abusive, horrible marriage that you're stuck in, or single and thriving? Now, the answer is single and thriving. And I'm sure all you listening would be like, oh, I'm on that single train. Yeah, I would rather. But our action tells us that we are so desperate to have what we think we want, which is a white picket fence, the dog, the kids, and a husband. That marriage that we secure,
the security, quote unquote,
that
security.
we would rather actually be in that marriage, stuck in that marriage, and half of us are in relationships we should not be in, and that we're too afraid to be single, to be alone. That's what we're afraid of. Let's be honest, being alone, that we're going to settle for those red flags and the way he treats us and the way he doesn't text back when he doesn't want to, and when he accidentally says, something that he shouldn't have said and he apologizes later, or he, has his side chicks and he says sorry 50 times, or whatever it is that you're settling for, even his attitude about the waitress, okay? Or even his attitude, his racist jokes or his paraplegic jokes, or his view on, I don't know, the way he treats his mom and how annoyed he gets of things. I don't know what it is, the red flags that you may be, putting up with. But would you rather be stuck with that than to be single and thriving? Because let me tell you, yes, single in the pandemic, it's not as fun. I'd love to be locked up with my boo, and I'm just saying, all you dumb guys out there that had a chance to be locked up with this, I mean, what are you thinking? Not kidding, but honestly,
you know what, I've had a couple of people write in though, and you can attest to this, because you do love the Lord, and you like you said, it's been since day one. But I've had a couple of people write in and ask, after our last podcast about abuse, they've asked, or they've mentioned, I have stayed because I know God hates divorce. I know God hates divorce. I know God hates divorce. I've heard that multiple times. What was your experience through that?
That's a great Yeah.
You know what I'm
That's a great
saying?
question. And pause, because you can.
Like, did you feel, because I'm sure they're afraid on the opposite side of it, that all of a sudden their life is going to go to shit and God's going to curse them and condemn them, and, you know, and they're going to be doomed forever. But what did you feel on the other side concerning God and his love for you?
That's a great question. Before we move on, do you hear that music? Can I go tell her to turn that down, please? Because it's really loud. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Can
go.
you delete this part? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can take it out. Yeah.
Hey.
I'm gonna
push. I'm on a pod. Are you about to get up? Oh, you're not? Oh, good night. Am I being too loud? Okay. My brother-in-law, he's a nurse in the corona.
Tell him thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Do they know you're doing a podcast?
Yeah. Well, they didn't. My mom was playing something on her phone.
Okay.
They didn't know. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think what makes this question even more tricky and interesting is that I was married to a pastor's kid. And his parents really are passionate about marriage. And in fact, when I met my ex-husband, the first thing I thought was, I want what his parents have. Like, my grandparents will have been married 70 years on Wednesday. Okay. So I have this amazing example of like marriage, and I'm like, 70 years, you know, back then it was, you know, 60, but what's the difference? I'm like 60 years of marriage, you know, and I thought, you know, that's what I want. So when I met him and I saw what his parents had, I thought, you know, that's what I want. And so one of the bases of and reasons why I married him was because I wanted what his parents had. Guys, don't ever marry a guy based on what his parents have, because, you know, that doesn't mean that they're going to, thank God half y'all haven't turned out like your parents, right? But the people who have amazing parents, that doesn't mean you're going to turn out to be some amazing, you know. And having in-laws that are so passionate about marriage, there was a lot of pressure to make sure that our marriage lasted, you know. And when all the infidelity happened, they were the only people that ever knew. I never took it to Facebook. I always honored my husband. I never even told the siblings until about, you know, a few times in. Then I was like, no, now guess who gets to know? All your siblings, because I had to tell somebody, and I wanted him to feel bad about it. So I thought maybe telling his siblings would change something. But at the end, when I had my last straw, I ended up, you know, I prayed about it, and I just said, Lord, if you know that he is going to change, then I am asking you to give me a sign, and I will stay. Like, it's been 6 years. I don't want to be divorced at 30. Like, I already have all this investment in my marriage. I have a freaking marriage blog. Like, people come to me for advice. I have walked so many people through saving their freaking marriages. That, I mean, national news, you know, people going through, I'm the one that's sitting there helping people go through it. Like, it was crazy. But my own marriage was falling apart. It was like, you know, the lifeguard drowning, you know, or the swim teacher drowning, like, or the personal trainer who's overweight. You're like, whoa, like, you say one thing, but you don't look the same as what you're saying, you know?
Yeah.
So I prayed and I just asked the Lord, you know, if you know he's going to change, then please give me the heart to stay. But if you know he's not going to change, then give me a sign. And so my sign was, and, you know, sometimes we make deals with God, like, okay, if they say, you know, fork, then if they say knife, then. So I said, I'm going to sit down with my in-laws and him, and us four are going to sit down, and I'm going to say I'm leaving. And I'm going to say, you know, And I said I was leaving for 3 months, and these are the things that he needed to do. And I said, but I need them to say, we bless your decision. And I was waiting for them to say, and I knew they weren't going to say, we bless your decision. They're going to be like, no, you ain't going nowhere. Like, let's figure this out. And I remember that night, you know, whether they remember or not, they both were like, we understand, and we bless your decision. And I thought, oh my God, that was the sign. And I was still, even after that, even after I left, even a few months, even before I even signed my divorce papers, I kept asking God, are you sure? Like, I know you hate divorce, but if he's not going to change, and I'm in this, and let me be clear, the Bible also says that the only reason that you should get a divorce is if someone steps outside the home. And I'm not saying that that's even a reason to get divorced, because there's a lot of people that have lived through infidelity and you guys are thriving, or you've just faced that and you're trying to work through it. And let me just encourage you, if you're listening, work through it. Forgive, have compassion for somebody who stepped outside of marriage, because let me tell you something, they aren't okay. Like, clearly they have some issues if they are not finding contentment in the gift that God's given them, which is marriage. You know what I mean? Yeah, we all struggle, but I'm just saying, keep working, keep fighting for your marriage. But at that point, you know, I was just like, it's time to move forward. And praise God that I did. You know, he's married and having a second kid. And so obviously I'm looking at that and going, he's already moved on, like, has his life. Where's my husband? You know, I wanted kids, but you can't even look at it like that anymore. You know, it's like,
I mean, that's interesting. That is quite of a paradox. Like, let's be honest at that. There's people that have bad things happen to them. They move on, and then God just blesses them. Okay, like Kathy, which I'm trying to get Kathy on the podcast. She already said she'll do it. So Kathy is the wife to this dude that was in my group back in the days. And she went through the same thing that you went through. And then on the other side of it,
I mean, I'm trying to live in Miami with a husband. I mean, come on. I'm just kidding.
Gets this upgrade. She leaves this toxic situation, gets her divorce because she was trying to stick it out too. And then finds this other man in Luther who instantly just adores her, treats her like a queen. And she literally goes from this wretched life of
Cinderella,
having to just be at home waiting for her man to come home from cheating to I laugh. We both laugh at this because we don't think, like, it's not about money. It's not about whatever, because Luther genuinely loves her. But we laugh because she is on the opposite side of the spectrum. Not only does she have a man that loves her, that adores her, that works hard, treats her right, has a standard, like a really high standard for himself and for her, but then at the same time, those two things, him believing in her, him pushing her, has made her the face of this
global brand,
global product that she is now. You know, I remember Luther will call me and let me know whenever he gets a new car. And he'll be like, I got the Lambo. I was like, dope, man, so amazing. I got the Ferrari. Awesome, bro. He's like, man, but these are not daily drivers. I was like, yeah, you're going to need a daily driver. And then he hits me up. Hey, man, I got this Rolls Royce for a daily driver. I'm like, this is the life you're living now, where you're like, I need a daily. Prius, no. Civic, no. Rolls Royce, that's good enough. So, like, again, it's not that money makes her life better, but she obviously was upgraded in every area. There's now wealth in her health. There's wealth in her emotions. There's wealth in her heart. There's wealth in her bank. That's a truly wealthy life. Now, on the adverse, I can't imagine you, who I feel is wealthy in heart and wealthy in spirit and wealthy in all those things, but to then see the person who you know did you wrong, and now this fool is married. And now, of course, we have no idea what that situation is like. That situation could be as
Absolutely
toxic as what you were in. I don't want to speak that out because I know Sim and me and him are cool. But
it's the idea of it.
if you were to be honest, are you a little
Salty?
pissed at Jesus? A little like mad at God, like, yo, come on, God. Like,
so I thought I had my Luther. Okay, when y'all hear Kathy's story, let's be honest. It is an unbelievable story, but for 99% of us listening who have either been through a divorce or just gone through hard times, our stories don't end up that freaking awesome that quick, okay? I thought that was right after I got divorced and everything, about a year later, I started dating John. I thought John was my Luther. I mean, this dude, if y'all saw him,
he was amazing.
I mean, the most incredible guy you've ever seen. He's gorgeous.
Caring,
cried over
kind.
Homeless people, just romantic,
humble,
just gorgeous. Like y'all, like wrote me songs, love letters. Like we were traveling all over the world. Like it was amazing. And then, all of a sudden, joke's on me again in my life. But he comes to me one day and tells me that God told him that he felt in his heart that he needed to break up with me. And the funny part is the whole time I'm with John, I thought, wow, this is the gift that God's given me because of all the stuff I've been through with Simeon. This is the gift. So like kind of probably how Kathy felt, like, oh, you want to play like this? Look what God gave me. So that's how I felt in my heart. So then when John came to me and was like, I got to break up with you. Like, I don't, and he has this British accent. He was like, I can't explain it. I just don't feel peace. Like, you are the most amazing girl ever. Like, you are, like, I want to marry you, but for some reason, like, I can't explain it. He was so sad. And I knew, like, he wasn't making it up. Like, John's a very spiritual person. And, most guys are like, yeah, the Lord told me to break up with you. Oh, for real? But this dude was serious.
Right.
So let me tell you something that happened with that. That is, and this is a whole nother podcast, y'all, but that is the thing, the breaking point, the breakup that set me into a speaking career where I got to tell my testimony about a whole secret that I had. I would have lived in shame and never told my story about having an abortion 12 years ago all over the country on a speaking tour, like actually an artist tour with all these artists, propaganda and whoever. But I didn't get to sing like I thought I was going to ever since I was a little girl going on stage. I went out there in the middle of the concert, everybody's vibing, but they don't play a track and let me freaking blow the crowd away with my voice. I used my voice for something else, and it wasn't singing, but to tell the story of redemption and help people get set free from shame, because I was living in shame from an abortion. And I felt like I didn't deserve John. Maybe that's the reason why my freaking marriage fell apart, because I had a freaking abortion and I don't deserve a healthy marriage and I don't deserve, and then John breaks up with me and it set me free because it just how things happen. It's kind of a cool long story. You can read my book one day, but I end up telling this story that, I got heartbroken, but what happened was so many people got set free from shame, and like the cool like miracles that happened from him breaking up with me. It was like, it's a selfless thing, because you're like, are these people worth it breaking up with this amazing guy? But that's when you have to ask yourself, like, is it worth it? Is one soul worth breaking up with the guy that you're not supposed to be with right now? Like, if you're in a relationship with a guy right now and y'all aren't married, or you're engaged, okay, or dating, and you've already seen red flags, is one soul worth breaking up with him? Because, and maybe you're like, no, he's too successful, or he pays my bills, or I don't know what the reason.
And when you say one soul, you mean because that is, going into that toxic relationship is going to mute or most certainly limit what you were
your
meant
impact.
To do,
absolutely.
whatever it is. Like, your impact.
You are going to compromise. You are already compromising. So secretly in your heart, you're trying to play cool, because I was just in something that about 6 months ago, like, your light has dimmed, and it's not because anybody else dimmed it. You've allowed that because you are looking at red flags and you're okay with it, because you're spending so much time trying to fix somebody else that is actually impacting your impact and your influence and your light. It is, I mean, before, everybody had to put their freaking shades on because you were so bright and so excited and so powerful. You know, someone said they were standing by Tony Robbins at a Lakers game and they shook hands with him. And like, I don't know if I'm a Tony Robbins fan or not. Who gives a crap? That's not the point. The point is that he is so in tune and so like focused on impacting lives that the guy said he shook Tony Robbins' hand. He's like, bro, the energy was amazing. Now, I don't think the guy was lying. I think the energy Tony Robbins has is probably powerful. Tony Robbins doesn't have that energy because he just gets that energy. No, like he gets rid of the red flags. He makes sure his circle is small and focused. Like, so I'm just saying, is the thing that you know ever since you were a little girl or boy that you were called to do, like so many of us are compromising it because of a relationship that we're in. And I'm not talking to you married people, by the way.
No, yeah, I agree. I fully think that, you know, I just think at some point, and I don't know if you fully maybe answered this. Do you feel that at the end of it though, like where was God post-divorce? Did you feel like, do you feel that the lack of finding someone now is quote unquote punishment? I don't think this. Yeah. Or do you feel like after your divorce, God was more like, man, you know, like I'm happy you're happy now. Because I understand, and like many things in the Bible, context is so important. Context is insanely important with the word. And when it was talking about the hatred of marriage or divorce, I'm curious as to what was going on at that time period that made the writer write that. And I understand that God loves the union because he's in it. But I have to believe that when one person in that union no longer considers God nor wants God, I don't see how God is upset at your decision to leave that situation. And it's not that God can't save him or her, but people have the ability to make a choice whether they want God or not. It's not like that God isn't strong enough to make a situation work. It's the very real reality that there's no promise that it's going to work because he's dealing within the realm of our rules.
That's right. Free will.
When it comes to free will, he's lowering himself because he wants the relationship to be genuine. And according to our rules, humanity, we have the choice whether or not we are going to choose him.
That's right.
And it's not that we're not going to struggle, because I think, you know, in infidelity, if a dude, you know, is struggling with it, but he's fighting, he's going to counseling, he's trying hard, and I don't think you accidentally fall into a coochie, you know, like I don't think that's the thing, like over and over, you know. I get maybe the first time
it starts with a Google search, okay, or a text message.
Yeah, maybe the first time you're like, you know, whatever, and you accidentally do it, but then you realize quickly that was the wrong move. I was looking for something and that wasn't it. But when you keep falling into the cooch, you know, like at some point it's like, oh, okay, you just want some cooch. But I think that you have to be able to assess and look at what somebody is giving you. This person is showing you by their action, this is the life they would like to lead. And
which is sad, because that's so sad.
It is. But like you mentioned earlier in the podcast, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the standard to which they want to live their life. But if their standard is not at the highest to where you know God is calling you and what you want to do, I don't know if I would stay. Because then what I'm saying in my life is, you know, you would like to think that you can be in a relationship like that and God can still fully move and use you and bless you despite your others' extracurricular activities. I don't see how the Lord is going to graduate your ministry and your life to the place that he wants it to be, whether it's global or massive, and then allow the absolute probability of somebody finding out what the other person is doing. It's a liability. I've never seen it to where that would be like a beneficial move. Now, can you look at stuff like, in the Bible, how can David be so at the top and have these things that he does, but still stay at the top? I mean, he paid for it with losing his son and some other things, but he was at the top and he still has this like dirty little secret. So sure, there are things like that where I guess you can say, but that's also a different time. There's lineage when it comes to being a king. Like there's only a certain amount of people that you can choose from. There wasn't even supposed to be kings back then with Jewish people. So I mean, it's a lot that you can look at in the Bible when it comes to that. But I'm talking about in real life, like right now, I don't see how you will be graduated to the highest level of which you can go to when you're carrying around a liability who is choosing, I don't want God or anything that has to do with God or living righteous for God. I want to live for me. Like
which
you
that
said,
is what
after
it is.
6
That
years
is
of-
what it is, y'all. Like if you're there and you're like,
choosing
no, I
self.
want God. Like I'm struggling, but I want God. No, you don't want God. If you want to get fit, you get in the gym and you put the stuff away. Like it's not a game anymore. And God doesn't play with that kind of stuff. And so I just absolutely, I feel like God can still use you. And like there's a lot of people who have hidden secrets that are still, God is using them, and your gifting is never, and me being married, I know there's so many people whose lives were impacted from me and my ministry, even being married. But you're asking where God, where have I found God in all of this after post-divorced and divorced? And, yes, there's times when I'm just sitting here going, where are you? Like, what? I feel lonely. I feel like forgotten. I feel rejected. I feel like not enough. Like, or I'm afraid to be single for the rest of my life. Like, what if I'm 50 and still haven't found a husband? That kind of thing. And but then I look at all of the things in this last, where has God been? Like, go look at my Instagram, like, or whatever. Like, I share a lot of stories about God has used me in ways I couldn't even imagine, and I know would have never happened being in a marriage that was as toxic as it was, and the redemption with his family. And I mean, just that whole story, and just being able to have an incredible relationship and still be a woman of integrity and be honored by his family. God has been shown up right in there. The opportunities that God has opened up, and just the peace that I have in my heart. Yeah, like I want a husband and kids, like all that, but I also have peace in my heart. It's like that peace that you can't explain. Like I think about Vanessa Bryant, and I want to talk to her, and I want to ask her, like, does she have peace? Because it's that thing where you're like, how are you dealing with this? Like, your life sucks. To me, it looks like it sucks, but you make it look so enjoyable. I don't know. It's like God is the peace that I feel. God is the contentment that I feel. Yeah, like obviously our flesh, our wants, our desires are to be adored by a man or a woman, and be in a relationship and hold hands and have a Valentine. But it's like when you're in that quiet place that you feel all alone, that's sometimes when you find God the most. You just I don't know. He's found me in the quiet places, in the singleness, in the places that I never could have imagined. So, but
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. I know your story is still going and it hasn't been finished, or it's still being written. Probably like a lot of you that are listening, story is still being written. But I think the one thing I can see in Haley's life that I love is that she hasn't turned away from the core of who she is, even though as she's stumbling to figure out where she's going to plant her tent poles, her core values, the things that in the future she will not compromise on anymore. I'm just asking everybody who's listening to do the same thing, to actually sit down and ask yourself, what do you deserve? And base that on what are you giving? Because if you are not giving and being who it is that you are expecting, that is problem number one. And that is thankfully a problem that you can fix, because it's you. You are the one in charge of you. After you do that, now move to the place where you can say, well, this is what I'm giving. This is what I'm putting out into the universe now. This is what I expect. And when you can get there, I feel like you're going to see the choices that you make and the people that are now surrounding your life become exponentially better. And the chance of love is going to become more realistic, you know? So I love you. Hey. Thank you so much for taking time.
Absolutely.
You're a gem. And everyone who's listening, I love you so much. Make sure to, I'll put Haley's information at the bottom so you can check her out. And
feel free to ask me any questions, y'all. If you want to DM me on Instagram or whatever. I know there's so much to talk about, and you know. Yeah. So
you could DM her. And guys, you can DM her too, but you have to
go through Manny.
Once you see the video, the guys will be like, yeah, I want to DM her. Actually, send me pictures so that I can post them on the week of it, and then I'll get you a man, because I don't see dudes not hitting you up.
Wait, can we talk about the dating thing that you did with Elise? Did it work?
No, remember she hated the apps. She hated the apps.
It was an app?
I made her get on all the apps. All of them. To see how they felt, to see what a modern day dater is going through.
And what did she say?
She hated it. She lasted like, it just wasn't for her. She found herself being real shallow really quick. I remember because we were here in the kitchen and she'd be like swiping left on people that I'm like, wait, what's wrong with him? Oh, look at him. He doesn't look like she just looks like he's da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, you don't know him, you know? And it quickly can bring out the worst side of you, and the whole swiping can get really addictive. And I think at the same time, you realize how much access you have. I don't know if I could do the dating apps. If God forbid anything happened to Ange and I was back on the market,
which is the worst. Listen to me. I just like a few months ago, literally like in January, I was with my boyfriend at the time, and I thought to myself, and I said to him, I couldn't imagine not being with you, because I didn't have any plans of us breaking up, and neither did he, I don't think. And I was like, because I would not want to be single right now again. Like, it is the worst time in history to be single, and now with the pandemic it's even worse. No, I'm just kidding. But I like a year and a half ago was forced, I'll say, someone twisted my freaking arm to get on a dating app. And I'm like, I'm too good. I know too many people to be on a dating app. One, people are going to see me on it. And two, I know too many people. I feel like I'm not going to meet my husband on a freaking dating app. But it was one that a lot of people haven't heard of. Maybe you've heard of it. I shouldn't even tell you about it. Okay, it's called The League. Anyway, I'm a horrible secret keeper. Anyway, one, it's connected to your LinkedIn. So you're immediately looking at their pictures. And then two, looking at what they do for a living. Like determining if they make enough money for you. And you know, if they're swaggy enough or whatever. Well, when you push heart, if they don't push heart back, that also does something to you. If they, you know, and I was on it for like probably 2 months, and the guys that I connected with were so good looking and successful, but the most shallow people that I probably ever met. But it does something to you when you aren't liked by every guy too. Like my inbox should have been like, you know, it was bumping, but it was like, that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted everybody to choose me. It was like, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I got off the app because I felt like I was finding my freaking identity. And if a guy,
I can't imagine.
It's so stupid. Like, can you imagine the people that swipe right or left and never connect with anybody, or like one person a month? Like,
I know. I don't even, you would really think that that's your life. I could imagine that those things would make you walk differently in the real world. you know, and go out there and actually think nobody likes me. I am not likable. I don't know. I know that's a whole different whatever, but I don't know if I could do the online dating if I ever was single
I want to say something.
I think I would look around, you know, I'd be looking around at people that I really love that are my friends, because at this stage that's what it is. Hey Haley, are you still single? Holler at me. Who else are my friends? At least I know these people. I trust them.
Exactly.
That's literally what I would think. I would look around my closest friends and be like, man, I love all these people. Who can we build a life together? Because now that I am deathly afraid of finding a new person and they're crazy and they're whatever. And in the world that we live in, sending a wrong text and it ended up on social medias, trying to be cute and flirty, and then it doesn't work out. And all of a sudden, because I have some kind of name, all our text messages are online. Like these are the things that I think about. I think about
Absolutely.
If there's ever intimacy, then I would be like, right before we get down, I got this phone out and I'll be like, can you just say on the phone that we are consenting adults? Can you just look into the camera and say that?
She's like, oh, I got... Yeah.
Because I got too much to lose. Yeah, I don't want to lose my
Absolutely.
house off of some chick and end up in prison because she... Anyways, I digress.
I think I have like four agreements with like 4 different guy friends that I'm okay with, that I'm like, well, we're not together, but if we're not married by 38 or 40, we're getting married. So I don't know which one's going to, happen unless I meet my husband first. But I do want to say something really quick. If you're listening to this, no matter what situation you're in, I always tell everyone all the time, you're always enough and you're never too much. And it's wild being a girl in a situation that I was in that felt like I was not enough, but also being a 7 on the Enneagram and always feeling like I'm too much. I'm always too much. I'm too excited. I'm too passionate. I've got too much going on. I'm too loving to people. I'm too trusting. You are always enough and you are never too much. And so when you find that person that revels in the lack of your big booty and thinks it's perfect enough, or, doesn't think you freaking need Botox, or, which if you have Botox, awesome. But if you don't have Botox, awesome. Like, who cares? Like, and a guy who thinks, if you're quiet, that he loves your quiet strength. But if you're wild and crazy and always want to have, the family over for barbecues, like that, he's down for that. And he's like celebrating you and everything that you have going on. Like, find that person that loves every detail about you, And anyway. I
love it. That's a great way to end it. Hey, if you're listening, check out our YouTube so that you can see Haley's beautiful face and my face too, and my gray hair that needs attention. Check it out, subscribe, smash the like button, please. That is amazing for us. And if you haven't picked up any of our merch, please do, because once again, the more you support us, the longer we can keep doing this thing. We are so appreciative of everyone who shares the pod, who continues to listen, and reach out to Haley if you have any questions about her life. There's so much that she wasn't able to mention, but she's an open book pretty much, so you can totally reach out to her. Check her out. I'm serious about you trying to hook her up with good guys too. So at the same time, we love you so much. Haley, have an amazing Corona. I'm going to talk to you before it's over, but I'm just saying, have an amazing Corona Saturday.
Thank you.
I love
COVID-19. Love you guys. Thank you
like I
for
say,
listening.
Yeah, we pray you find a seat at the table. But if you don't, you are always welcome at ours. Cheers.